to everyone, whether you're here in the sanctuary or on Zoom or on YouTube. Welcome to this Sunday program of the Universalist Unitarian Church of Halifax. My name is Margaret Galbraith, and I am the leader of the Climate Crisis Team and the service leader today for this service in honor of the Earth and Earth Day, which is actually next Thursday, the 22nd. Reverend Norm Horofker is the minister of our congregation, and thank goodness the in-house technical assistant today. Our technical support for the service is provided by Paul Galbraith today. Jessica Friesen is our music director, Marie-Claude Leroux, our director of religious exploration, and the other members of our Climate Crisis Team will be assisting with the service. During the service, the chat function will be open, and I invite you to extend our hospitality by saying hello to anyone that you don't recognize or you haven't seen lately or communicated with lately. We haven't seen a lot of each other lately. If you're not already receiving notifications from our church and you'd like to receive updates on our activities and services, please send an email to minister@uuch.ca. Before we proceed, I have just a couple of announcements. The order of service for today was sent out yesterday, and it has more detail on the following. Each Thursday evening at 7 p.m., we host an online gathering to allow us to break out of our isolation. And the link for that connection is in the order of service. And the resumption of services now in the sanctuary, we are welcoming people back into the sanctuary in limited numbers. So please let me know so that we can manage the logistics each Sunday. There are some our team meetings coming up this week. The caring committee will be meeting on Tuesday. The membership team meets on Thursday. And the Climate Crisis Team for this month only will also meet on this coming Thursday. So contact the leads of those committees if you want to attend. All meetings are open to the public, and they're all online via Zoom. Now, a message from the board. As we continue to weather the pandemic, your generosity has been amazing. You've kept our Saturday brunch and our food box programs going all through 2020 by giving unpledged donations, anticipating that our income for the year would be down. And already in the first months of 2021, we have received generous donations for those two programs. So thank you for keeping that going. For those of you who used to put a cash contribution on the collection plate and aren't sure how to do that when you're not coming in person, you could put your change into an envelope each week and save that up, bring that into church when you return. Or you can always send a check to the church. The address is on the screen now, or an e-transfer, a small amount, doesn't matter how much, to the treasurer at UUCH.ca. And if you prefer to do this by check, send it to the church address, which is on the screen. Thank you, as always, for your generosity. At this point in our service, we present an acknowledgement of the land on which we are meeting. I feel privileged to do it today as a member of both the Truth, Healing, and Reconciliation Team and the Climate Crisis Team. Let me start off by acknowledging that those of us in Nova Scotia are meeting here today in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded ancestral land of the Mi'kmaq. This land has been occupied by the Mi'kmaq and their ancestors for thousands of years before Europeans arrived, and the relationship they established with the world they lived in is still a significant part of Indigenous beliefs today. We would do well to take note of this relationship as we honor Earth Day. The poster on your screen now is one of the ones that was created for the Mi'kmaq History Month, this one from 2012, which illustrates, although you can't see it very well, all my relations, the concept of we're related to all of the earth. And in the words of Richard Wagamies from his book Embers, and Ojibwe's meditations. I've been considering the phrase, all my relations, for some time now. It's hugely important. It's all our saving grace in the end. It points to the truth that we are all related, that we are all connected, that we all belong to each other. The most important word is all. Not just those who look like me, sing like me, dance like me, speak like me, pray like me, or behave like me. All my relations. That means every person, just as it means every rock, mineral, blade of grass, and creature. We live because everything else does. If we were to choose collectively to live that teaching, the energy of our change of consciousness would heal each of us and heal the planet. And now we have the prelude for our service. This will be a special one, a slideshow of Kim Turner's photos, well, some of her photos, showing some of her relations. And it's accompanied by Jessica playing Arabesque by Claude Debussy. Now the slideshow, there we are, the slideshow starting. Thank you, Kim and Paul and Jessica, for that wonderful prelude. And now Marie Welton will read our chalice lighting, and then I'll light the chalice here in the sanctuary.
The chalice lighting words will be on the screen. The End is the Beginning by Katie Gelfand. We call forth the life of our faith by igniting our chalice. The spark of new beginnings invites us into a sacred space to reflect where we have been and where we are going. Even knowing that this particular flame will intentionally end with our ritual extinguishing, we fear not its end. For we know with brave hearts that from every ending of our lives, we are sent forth to make a new beginning.
And now Jessica will lead us in our opening song for this morning. Jessica?
This morning we will be singing For the Beauty of the Earth. And if you haven't noticed, we have beautiful nature. We have the tulips and
Forsythia.
Forsythia. Forsythia. Forsythia at the front. So words are on the screen. Please sing along with me. For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the sky, for the love which from above over and around us lies. Source of all to thee we raise, this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of here and I, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight. Source of all to thee we raise, this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour, of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light. Source of all to thee we raise, this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, sister, brother, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild. Source of all to thee we raise, this our hymn of grateful praise.
Thank you, Jessica, and everybody. You can't hear some voices here when you're singing. And now Leslie Robinson and Scott Wood will do a reading called Earth by Mark L. Bellatini. The words will also be on the screen.
This is our earth. It falls through heaven like a pearl in a glass of plum wine. There are no other earths that I know of. There are no other skies we have mapped. This is our earth. The oneness who gave birth to it remains nameless. There was no midwife then to bring us word of the birth cry. We only rejoice that it is.
This is our earth. Ice caps its head, glaciers clasp its feet. Warm wind, like the breath of a lover, breathes around its breast. Mountains thrust up to the clouds, bringing joy. Storms blow across the shores, bringing fear. Silvery fish capture sunlight and bring it down into the deep, as on shore valleys spread with ripening fruit. Cities teem with poor and disenfranchised in the shadow of golden towers. Children live and also die. Highways throb. Monks sit in silence. Mothers work. Crickets chirp. Teachers plan. Engineers design. Fathers write letters. People marry, with and without the blessing of law. People cry, they laugh, and brood, and worry, and wait.
This is our earth. There are no other earths. Before its wonder, philosophers fall silent. Before its mystery, poets admit their words are shadow, not light. And all the great names religious teachers have left to us, Ishtar, Shekinah, Taramata, Suchness, Vakan, Tanka, Gaia, suddenly refuse to announce themselves. And so we too fall silent, entering the time where words end and reality begins.
Thank you, Leslie and Scott. We now move to our time for joys and sorrows. If Jessica would come to help me with lighting the candles. This is our special time in our service, a sacred time, a time set apart to honor your sorrows and your joys, and to acknowledge the mutual support of our community. Today, I will ask Jessica to light one candle for all those who are here with us or in our thoughts, who are struggling mentally, physically, financially, or emotionally. And Jessica will also light one candle for all the joys that are in the room, the big joys that come along only infrequently, and the little joys that we are blessed by every day if we are able to see them. And Jessica will light a candle once again for the members and friends of our community who are shut in one way or another by this pandemic. Each week, anyone with a joy or sorrow to share at this time is invited to send their thoughts to Reverend Norm by email. This week there was one message for 2 candles. It was from Pam Griffin-Hody, who speaks for many of us. The 1-year anniversary of the mass shooting in Nova Scotia. A year ago today, 22 people were murdered. This is for the victims, the survivors, the families, and the communities. And the other candle is for Ontario, for our families who live there, for our friends who live there, and for all Ontarians. Later, when we stop the live streaming on YouTube and before the coffee hour begins, I will invite anyone else to share a joy or sorrow if they would like to do so. And now Jessica will present our reflective song.
Today we will be doing Mother Spirit, Father Spirit. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, where are you? In the sky song, in the forest sounds your cry. What to give you, what to call you, who am I? Many drops are in the ocean deep and wide. Sunlight bounces off the ripples to the sky. What to give you, what to call you, who am I? Mother Spirit. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, take our hearts. Take our breath and let our voices sing of
May the joys and sorrows, both those acknowledged here this morning and those held in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts, weave us together in the interdependent fabric of this community. And now our Director of Religious Exploration, Marie-Claude Leroux, brings us her talk this morning. Marie-Claude?
Good morning, everyone. As we honor Earth Day, I'd like to share with you more about the Religious Exploration Program this past year. You've seen photos of our outings, but we aren't just spending time outdoors because of the pandemic restrictions. We've been spending time in nature. The program this year has been focused on growing a deeper connection with nature while exploring the sixth source of our living tradition. At the very core, the program is meeting its goal every time that the children roll down a hill of grass, when they create worlds of kings and queens with the periwinkles and the tidal pools, when they call excitedly that they've found a mushroom, or when they reach to touch the softness of moss. This might seem like children being children, but in the past generation or so, children's lives have largely moved indoors, and these interactions are fewer and fewer. Without those direct interactions with nature, without intrinsically finding joy in nature, we lose our connection to Earth. And it's by connecting and appreciating the natural world that we grow up to care and protect it. Along with the direct experience of nature, we're exploring the sixth source of our living tradition. These are the spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. As we've been learning and celebrating the pagan Sabbats, we're actively celebrating the cycles of the season, the cycles of the natural world, and gaining a wider perspective. We've also been exploring the Mi'kmaq culture and its integral ties to nature. I've reinforced that we're in Mi'kma'ki, that we are on ancestral lands that had been conserved for thousands of years because the Mi'kmaq treated their natural surroundings with respect and gratitude for the gifts that nature provided. Ultimately, as we're deepening our connection to nature, celebrating the cycles and ways to live in harmony with nature, we're learning to live our seventh principle to respect the interdependent web of all existence. The seventh principle is more than caring for our planet Earth. It also speaks to the connections that we have to our fellow human beings in all communities and across time. Whether by celebrating Samhain or exploring Mi'kmaq petroglyphs, we're reminded that where we find ourselves has been greatly influenced by our ancestors' decisions. We're reminded that we stand on ancestral lands, lands that have been honored and treated as sacred by many for thousands of years. These reminders attest that the choices we make with our lives have impact for generations to come. The Religious Exploration Program aims to grow our connection with nature, because this in turn increases our connection with humankind. And as we honor the earth, we honor all of those who call it home. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie-Claude. I'd now like to briefly introduce Alan Clark, a longtime member of UUCH and a longtime supporter of various environmental initiatives of this congregation. With his expertise in oceanography and work with the International Panel on Climate Change, he seemed the ideal one to explain very briefly the process of climate change and how our Earth got to where it is today. Alan?
I changed my glasses recently, so I'm not quite sure about my focal length on the papers. So if I stumble on words, it's a technical problem.
Alan,
Okay. So this week, the magazine Scientific America has just added the word climate emergency to their style manual. That's really a big change because scientific journals don't usually express opinions. But that's just an indication of how much the scientific community, as well as the traditional environmentalist communities, feel about climate change. So what is the climate system, and why is it threatening life as we know it? One of the illustrations we used early in the climate debate was that of Goldilocks. Goldilocks comes in and finds that Venus is too hot, that Mars is too cold, and Earth is just right. And that is 3 different planetary systems, 3 different climate systems, getting 3 different, wildly different results. So life exists in its richness on Earth because Earth's climate system maintains a relatively narrow range of temperatures from, say, -50 in the high Arctic down up to +50 in some of the deserts of the planet. Our moon is at the same distance from the sun, and the moon's temperature varies from -193 degrees to +106 degrees, as parts of the moon fall under the sun. Now, the sun supplies all the energy that is needed to run this Earth. There's a little bit of energy from the core of the Earth, still cooling down from formation, but most of the energy comes from the sun. But the sun shines mostly in the tropics. Doesn't shine very much at all in the polar regions. So we have processes that take place in the atmosphere and the ocean, whose job it is to move energy from the tropics to the mid-latitudes so that the tropics don't boil and the mid-latitudes don't freeze. So the incoming solar radiation to the planet comes centered at yellow in the shortwave, in the visible band, and that's referred to as shortwave radiation. And the atmosphere is largely transparent to those frequencies, so that's energy coming from the sun passes through the atmosphere, and much of it reaches the Earth's surface where it's reflected back out to space. Some also is reflected in the atmosphere from aerosols and clouds, and it too is reflected back to space. The surface of the Earth radiates the energy, it warms up, so it radiates its energy in long-wave radiation. But the atmosphere is not transparent to long-wave radiation. Materials such as water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, and freons absorb this energy at certain wave lengths and warms the middle atmosphere from that energy. So if we add those greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, it gets more and more difficult for the energy received from the sun to be radiated back out to space. And that's basically the way averaged over the Earth, that the Earth maintains its radiation balance. Now, there are processes which move the energy around the Earth. The atmosphere moves energy poleward through its large-scale circulation cells. Tropical storms and winter storms provide another process that transfers heat from low latitudes to higher latitudes. The oceans played their part. Ocean currents such as the Gulf Stream and the Kurashio transport as much heat across 30 degrees north, that's Washington, D.C., as does the atmosphere. Then at the higher latitude, in small areas of the Southern Ocean, Arctic Ocean, and Labrador Sea, processes cool the water and it sinks to the bottom where it will rest separated from the atmosphere for 500 to 1,000 years before it comes back up. So that's the memory of the climate system, lies in the deep ocean. Over the past 3 decades, computers have grown in size and speed, and as they grow, the models of the climate system improve because more and more of the processes that take place in the ocean and the atmosphere can be accommodated. 20-some-odd years ago, when I was still active, 2 fleets of automatic systems were put into the ocean. There are about 3,000 surface drifters whose job it is to measure air pressure and air temperature in the ocean in order to feed the weather forecast models. And the other are the same number of profiling floats which drift around the ocean and every 10 days sample the upper 2 kilometers of the ocean. So now we really have some good data, which we didn't have in the 90s. And it's hard to see how you can deny climate warming because it's being measured, it's being modeled, and it affects our life in the forms of storms, hurricanes, floods, etc. So it's now time to actually forget trying to bargain with nature and accept what the models are telling us and design a system to deal with the problem and move towards zero net carbon. Now, I have what I call the Gambler's Guide to Global Warming. So if they can put it up on the screen, I used this in a talk in Sweden. So the first column on that is just saying you either believe anthropogenic climate change or you don't. So it's either false or true. So if you believe the anthropogenic climate change and you don't believe it, the first, and you take action, so if you take it as, well, it may happen or not happen, but we should take action. So you encounter costs such as perhaps global depression, but you also get good things like improved energy efficiency. If anthropogenic climate change doesn't happen and we continue to do business as usual, then we can be happy because we won our bet. But if it's true that the anthropogenic climate change is true, then if we take action, we mitigate its impact. But if we do business as usual, then we risk global catastrophe in the ecosystem, the environment, society, economics, and public health. So you can take this diagram when eventually we're allowed to go and visit relatives and show it to your Republican cousins in the United States.
Not sure if you heard that last comment. Alan has 4 Republican relatives in the United States. Cousins. And as you did hear, climate change is a huge and urgent problem for us and the Earth. But the changing climate is only part of our issues these days. Here's a video called How to Save the Planet by Sir David Attenborough. Let's take a few minutes to absorb all that while we listen to Jessica.
I've chosen the piece Mercy, Mercy Me before the topic of global warming in 1971 when this song was released. Marvin Gaye wrote it for the environment and how we have an obligation to care for this earth. From the north and south and east. Oh, mercy, mercy me. Oh, things ain't what they used to be. No, oil wasted on the ocean and upon our seas, fish full of mercury. Oh, oh, mercy, mercy me. All things ain't what they used to be, no. Radiation underground and in the sky. Animals and birds who live nearby are dying. Oh, mercy, mercy me. All things ain't what they used to be, no. What about this overcrowded land? How much more abuse from man can she stand? Oh, mercy, mercy me. Oh, things ain't what they used to be, no. Where did all the blue skies go? Poison in the wind that blows from the north and south and east.
Thank you, Jessica. It was very appropriate. We live in Nova Scotia. The beautiful images and the wild animals in David Attenborough's world always seem far from here. But this is clearly a state of the whole world, of which we are a part. There are Nova Scotia wild animals, as seen in Kim Turner's photography. We live on a piece of that ocean. Our food comes from those enormous farms. We all share the air. This is our problem as much as anyone else's. I must admit that for years, I thought that the warming climate was the problem, that the occasional loss of insects or birds was just a fact of life, not significant to me. I've only recently realized what the interdependent web really means. It's not just a marvel, but that without every aspect of the web, it all doesn't work, and that web is breaking down now at an alarming rate. We can't survive as humans with the predicted climate changes, but we also can't survive without cleaner ocean waters, or the chain of biodiversity that includes everything from microscopic bacteria to large predators and us. David Attenborough simplifies the solutions beautifully. 4 things: clean energy, less meat, restricted fishing, more wildlife. But within those 4 categories are a great many decisions to be made, international treaties to be signed, technological solutions to be invented, lifestyle changes for billions of people. Essential, monumental tasks. This is a Sunday service to honor the earth. Today, we can't do that without recognizing the catastrophes that humans have caused on the planet. But it still has great beauty. The complexity on life on it is still astounding. We still love it. It is our home. The principles of our Unitarian Universalist faith were written for and addressed to humans. But we know now that we must be aware of the sacredness of all life. Our sixth source is the spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Today, here in Nova Scotia and elsewhere, there are many people of all ages, races, and roles recognizing this need to work with and for nature. They are speaking up, they are planning, creating, investing, building, conserving. Let us pledge today, to whatever extent we can, that we will join them and rise to this call for help from all our relations here on our earth. And now Jessica will lead in our closing song. Home.
Blue Boat Home. Let's sing this tune. Peter Mayer. The words are on the screen like always, and I know this is a favorite of the congregation's. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been saved.
Now we'll be extinguishing the chalice here in the sanctuary. And Paul, I just sent you a note not to put up the slides for the closing words because I adapted the words a little bit from the.
Hello, Norman.
You can hear me? Okay. Closing words are adapted from words by Reverend Lynn Harrison. We've joined together in this Sunday morning with loving hearts, hands, and minds, embracing the interconnected web of life, water, air, and earth, committed to respond to the call of a wounded world. May we carry forward new vision, wisdom, strength, and courage with our goal, not wealth, but well-being, a world of peace, a world of abundance for all. We extinguish our chalice, ending this service, giving thanks for this earth, our shared and singular home, rising to the calls of deep within us and from all around us, dedicating ourselves to the ongoing care of the earth. Go now with courage and with love.
Thank you, Reverend Norm. And thank you to all who attended the service today, here in the sanctuary, or by Zoom, or by YouTube. I'll say thank you to those who joined us by YouTube now as we end our live streaming. For those who joined by Zoom, in a few minutes we will return to sharing our joys and sorrows, and then followed by our virtual coffee hour. So thank you again, and go in peace.